Hi, everyone. Welcome to our second webinar today. Today, we're going to look into the automation journeys and how to build them in our automation studio. I'm Laura. I'm a customer success manager at Chatlyn, and I also have my colleague Marcel with me. He will be looking into your questions. There is a chat. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. And then we will designate 15 minutes at the end for the questions and look into them. So yes, so that's what you need to know. Basically, let's maybe wait 1 or 2 more minutes to see if there's any more people joining. But otherwise, we will start very shortly. So as I said, I will just go through the entire process, and then basically at the end, the floor is yours. You can ask all kinds of questions you have, and we will try and answer them. Please remember that the automation studio is very versatile. There's a lot that can be built in there. So we will go through one example today, but if you have any specific cases, anything you would like to build for your own account, please feel free to reach out to your customer success manager and schedule a meeting and build it with them together, because we won't have time to look into every specific case on the call, but we can definitely schedule meetings with you to do that separately and just look into like all the different functions, because there's a lot you can do. The meeting is also recorded, so you will receive a recording of the meeting afterwards. We've decided to do it on the Automation Studio today because it has been highly requested after our last webinar, which was on WhatsApp templates. So they go kind of hand in hand, so it made sense. Okay, so we've got 10 people now, so I guess we can actually dive in. And I'm going to share my screen. And first of all, I will show you what a finished WhatsApp flow can actually look like, just so you know what we're actually building here, and so that you can visualize it a bit better. I will just share my screen. Okay. Share. And okay. And now you should be seeing a video. So I'm just going to play it. It's very short. So someone can scan a QR code, for example, and it will open WhatsApp on their phone. And then the flow can start. Okay, so this is just to give you an overview what an automation can look like when it's finished. And I will just share the correct tab now for our automation studio. Give me 1 second. There we go. So you just saw it on the phone, basically from the perspective of the customer, what it can look like. And this is what it will look like in Chatlyn for you. So this is the exact flow that you've just seen on the screen record on the phone. This is what it would look like in your Chatlyn account in the automation studio. So you've got basically a lot of different steps. And what we will do now, we will sort of build one from scratch so that you can actually see what the different step-by-step is. Before I do that, I also wanted to let you know what the different entry points are. That's the first step of the automation. So whenever you want to build a new automation, you would click on the plus sign next to entry points, and you would give the entry point a name. So I'm just going to call it webinar now. And then you would select a list to connect your entry point. That is one way to sort of get an automation started. So the list can obviously be something that you upload regularly. Perhaps you're updating your contacts in Chatlyn with lists, I don't know, daily, weekly, who knows? So you could connect it to that sort of list. Or, of course, like you just saw in the example, it could also be a QR code list. So when someone scans a QR code via an automation rule, they can be added to a list. And then whenever someone scans it, they land in that list. So for example, here I have my QR webinar list. And whenever someone scans that QR code that I created, they will end up in that list. So those are the first two ways via lists. There's also an option to start an automation via API. But so it would basically work via webhooks, but it really depends whether the PMS you're using or CRM can actually do webhooks, and it can be very individual. So it is definitely something you would have to explore with your PMS, and then you could approach us about it and we would look into it with you. So yeah, but a great way to do it is definitely via QR code, because that way you can get, for example, if you're working in a hotel, you can get people at check-in to scan the QR code, and then their guest journey can be started that way. Okay, so then you would create the entry point once you've selected your list, and then you would add the automation. So you also give it a name here, edit, and now this is your blank canvas. So this is basically where you can start the magic, basically like select everything you would like. And so, for example, the first message could be like a welcome message. You've got different options. So obviously at first, when someone sends you the initial message from the QR code scan, you would probably want to send them like a, welcome message for the check-in. So like this, like in our example. So these are your templates. So these you would have created beforehand. They are in your templates. They are all approved by Meta. And then here you can just select them. So this is now a welcome message that you could send to the guest, and this could be your very first step. Now, this template has different options. So there is, for example, restaurant information, connect to travel desk, other requests. So based on that, you could now put the next template, for example. So you could look for restaurant information. So here you could then select, if they click on restaurant information, then they will receive the restaurant template. And then if they click on connect to the travel desk, they will receive a template that basically connects them to the travel desk. And so on. So these are obviously, this template is based on whatever quick response the customer chooses. But there's also other templates. So for example, you can have also a template where, I will just show you an example, where you have one quick response and you also have, for example, some links or a phone number, so they can also directly call the check-in, the reception, for example. That also works. So there's, I think, another check-in template. Let me just double check what I called it. I will show you here, actually, since it's already in our builder. So there's this selection. So other requests, call reception, book a table for dinner. And then if they click on other requests, then you can give them a selection of requests. I will actually go through them. One step that I actually didn't do in our fresh builder here is the language question. So of course you can ask them, send them the check-in message straight away, but you could also first ask them what language they prefer. So that also works. So if I put in a template with the different languages, you can select this one, edit, and then depending on which language they choose, you can proceed with the correct template. So for example, I only created English ones now for this meeting. But then you could afterwards send them the check-in message so that they receive the whole guest communication in their language of preference. So let me just quickly. So yeah, so the check-in selection, that would be the one. So in English, and then you click on action, send message templates, and then check-in selection. And then here, the call reception button and the book a table for dinner button, they're actually links. So a link and a phone number. So basically, if they click on the call reception button, they will dial straight through to reception. And if they book a table, click on book a table for dinner, then they will actually, the website will open and they can reserve a table immediately. So you can add that. And then, of course, if someone selects other requests, then you can search for the template with the different requests. So for example, you could have this one that, and then you have, let me just zoom out and zoom back in. So if they select other requests, they have 3 options: gym facilities, loyalty program, and airport transfer. So if they select gym facilities, of course, the next obvious step would be to link the facilities and their opening hours. And if they select the loyalty program, you could link your loyalty program, become a member, and then you could also have a link here that they can sign up, or airport transfer, of course, but you could also include a link to book it immediately. Okay, so there's a lot of different options. So now, as you can see, I only used templates, but there's also other features in the Automation Studio. For example, you could choose that after they select one of these, you put in a wait. You could wait for, I don't know, days, hours, minutes, until you send them the next template, for example. So say you wait for 5 minutes, and then after that, they get the next template. Other options that you have are also that you could add certain things. So that's also under action. You can add people or remove them from lists. So that's also really handy. So if you decide you don't want those people to be in the list anymore, or you would like to add them to another list, that could be quite useful. This actually could be, for example, good here. So I'm just going to remove the wait for now. If you decided, for example, that you have a separate list for members, then here you could add them to a list. So you could say remove contact from the QR list. And then you could say, I want to add them now to some other list. So just anything really, just to test it out. And then that would be an option to obviously automatically have people move from one list to another. Then you also have options, for example, to add contact attributes. So you could say that after this, you could add the attribute that they are a member. So that would be is member attribute. And I don't know why it's not showing to me. There we go. Yes. Perfect. So then you would update the contact with the custom attribute that they are a member. You can also add conditions. So another great thing is, for example, if you have certain promotions that you would only like to send to customers that are members of your membership program, you can put a condition that someone only gets a certain promotion when they actually are a member. So if they have the contact attribute of being a member, and then after that you could, if it's no, they maybe get another promotion or they don't get any. But if they are a member, they would get sent, for example, a voucher. It's not the one I wanted. But this one, for example, room upgrade for the next stay. So this is quite a popular one. If they stayed with you and they come back next time, they can get a room upgrade if there is availability, of course. So these are also some options. Or another thing you can do, say someone booked an airport transfer, you could add a label. So you could have a label added to the person that they actually booked airport transfer. I don't have a label called airport transfer right now, but you could create a label called airport transfer and then add it to the contact that went onto airport transfer. So those are like the different options that you really have to play around in the automation studio. It's obviously, it can go on forever. Like, you can like keep adding different templates. You can keep adding weights. You can, for example, what's quite popular, like hotels like to have that guest journey while the guest is staying. And then they also like to add some weights of like a week or a few days and then send some more templates as well, just so that the journey doesn't really finish when they check out necessarily, but still sort of continues when they've already left, just maybe with some interesting promotions for next time, and so on and so on. So this could actually be quite interesting, but really it's entirely up to you how long you want this journey to be, or how short. There's also some journeys that are really short, that they might only have like a couple of templates and that's it, because sometimes that's all that's needed. That really depends on the use case, I suppose. This is an example where there's quite a lot of templates, I would say. Since I also mentioned the different entry points, I guess for the QR code, I would like to briefly show you how to create that automation rule in the background, because it's actually an important part of that. And perhaps even how to generate the QR code, since it's actually like one of the most popular entry points.
Yeah,
So,
Laura, we may have a question here from our chat. So I put it up.
Room with the welcome message. So I guess that depends, right, Marcel?
Yeah, so we have a partnership with how is it called again? So there it is working. We do have a partnership with Flexibus, sorry, where you can unlock doors via WhatsApp. I don't know if we currently have something to showcase, but if you're interested with this, we can definitely showcase this to you. The best way would be to contact your customer success guy. And yeah, we do have as I said, a connection with FlexiPass, and it's really cool because you just receive a message on your WhatsApp and you have a button there, and you can unlock doors or your door in your hotel with it. So it's really handy. Maybe interested for some people out there. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Marcel. Yes, so it always sort of depends a little bit on the system you are using, whether this is a possibility or not, I suppose. But yeah, FlexiPass is obviously a great option to do it, since we are partners with them. So it would be like a very simple setup. Yes, so I will now show you how to create that QR code as well, and also how to create the automation in the background, just because I think it's a very common way to do the guest journeys, especially in hotels. And even though it's not part of the automation studio directly, I think it is a very essential part of this meeting, because otherwise it might be quite difficult when you're trying to set it up. So I don't want you to miss out on that. Okay, so the way it works is, first you would create your list, right? So you would create a new list, and you would call it something like just QR or QR code, something like that, just so you know what contacts they are. Create the list, and then you would go onto our website, and there's actually the QR code generator right there. It's let me just actually, I can probably just share the link in the chat. Then you have it already. Perfect. So that's the QR code generator. So all you need to do there is you need to put in your WhatsApp number. So if you don't know it, you can always find it in the settings in the WhatsApp inbox. And then you just need to put in the number. And sometimes when I copy it, it doesn't like it. 587430070. Don't know why it still says. Marcel, do you know why it still says that it has to have a plus and 20 digits?
I don't see your screen. We only
Oh,
see
thanks for letting me know. This is where I am. This is in the QR code builder. So yes, so you put in the number.
we still don't see your sharing.
That's strange. I selected it. Okay. Technical difficulties. No problem. Now you should see it.
Yes.
Do you see it? Yes.
Mhm.
So I'm going to type it in manually, because when I copy it, it keeps saying to me that it's not working with that number. 370. That looks good. Perfect. So now this is your number of your WhatsApp inbox, and then you put in the predefined message. So this is the message that the guest who scans the QR code has to send via WhatsApp. So you can put in something like, hi, I just checked in and would like to receive additional information about my stay. Okay, I'm gonna copy this. It's actually like quite an important step. You'll need it for later. I would just like perhaps save it somewhere in a note, or I would just, but if I do it immediately, copy it and then paste it next. So now I generate my QR code. That's it. So you have your QR code, you can download it, you can save it, and you can print it and display it anywhere you would like. And now I show you basically the final step, which is creating an automation rule where those contacts that scan the QR code and send the message will also be added to the list. So to create that rule, you would just go into your settings and click on automation rules. And then you would click on add automation rule. You just give it a name. So for example, QR list. And you would click on message created for the event. You would also select the inbox. So this would be WhatsApp in that case. And the second condition is the message content. And you remember I just copied the text. So I will put in the exact text that the customer will send to you via WhatsApp. And this will be the trigger basically for the action to take. And the action would be to add them to a list. So in this case, the one we just created, which was QR code. And once I have that automation rule active, once someone scans the QR code and sends that message to you, they will automatically land in the QR code list. And since this will be your entry point for an automation, it will trigger the automation. I think another thing that's definitely very important is that once you have finished your automation in the automation studio and you're happy with it and you want it to be active, you need to save it. Don't forget that. And also activate it. If you don't activate it, you will see it also here because it will say paused and it will be red. But now if I go and I activate it, you will see it's active and green. So once someone scans the QR code, sends the message, they will get into your QR code list, and this automation will start, and they will get the different messages that you've added here to your automation. Great. So I would actually suggest that now I will already open the floor for questions, because there might be some. I hope there's some good questions. Right. So I think we've got one question, which is, how can I test before I go live? So the way I would do it, so if you do it via a QR code, obviously to test it before going live is just, you're not going to probably publish the QR code immediately. So in that case, you can just, scan the QR code yourself or let your colleagues scan the QR code. And that way you can see what the flow looks like. This is sort of what I usually do with the QR code. Or otherwise, you could also, if you don't use the QR code, you could add a list where you are just like having yourself as a contact or a colleague as a contact. And that way you also just add yourself to the list, and then you just test the automation. If you are using an API and, for example, you have different triggers, it's a little bit of a different story. And I think it's best to probably create in a PMS, like a fake reservation, I suppose, and then test it that way. Is that right, Marcel?
Yeah, I mean, it depends always in a PMS section, because usually it depends on the PMS, because some PMS provide like a testing environment where you have like really dummy data where you can test it out before actually going live with your main thing. And yeah, for testing purposes, maybe also some little updates is in the future we also plan a test option within the automation studios. So this is something we improve continuously, and there will be also in the future like a testing option within the builder, basically. So stay tuned.
Yes, so this will come since it has been requested a couple of times. So you should also be able to test it in an easier way soon. But for now, there is some workarounds for sure that you can use. Great. So very useful webinar, but I couldn't watch all the time. Will you send a replay? Yes. Yes, we will send a replay to you. No problem. You will have the whole recording of the webinar. Absolutely not an issue. Great. Cool. Do we have any other questions? We still have time. It's always hard to judge how long these things will take, for sure, because last time we had a lot of questions, but actually a lot of questions last time were regarding our automation studio when we were talking about WhatsApp templates. So that's why we decided to this time do it on the automation studios. But apparently this time there isn't as many questions.
Yeah, then maybe let me freestyle a little bit.
Of course.
Because we didn't touch on the point. So this was basically for QR codes, and there is some restrictions with it, because if you would have an integration with a PMS or via webhooks, I mean, only the imagination is the limit. So you could do much more things. And okay, we have a question here. Where can I get the previous webinar recordings?
So we do have it. So I can also send it to you, but we will also probably publish them soon in our academy. So you should be definitely able to get them.
Yeah, and
on YouTube, I
think. Keep going. So if you have a integration with a PMS or something similar with a CRM, it always depends how it what data they can provide. But with this, you have much more possibilities and much more data. For example, as you've seen in Laura's example, where you in the beginning ask the guest for which language they want to choose, basically. Since with WhatsApp you don't really get the information from which country the person is, so you have to kind of ask this question if you want to give them the content in the specific language. But with a PMS, for example, you always have, not always, but you probably have this information already in the PMS, and based on this, you could automatically in the beginning already send them the content in their language. And also with PMS, you would have, for example, the options to send booking confirmations or check-in informations based on certain triggers which the PMS basically triggers. So, for example, if in your PMS you get a new booking, this could then trigger such an automation on our side, which then sends, for example, a WhatsApp template with a booking confirmation, which says, hey, thank you for booking. Here is your arrival date, your departure date, and yeah, whatever content you also want to put in there. You can also then use links for them to basically redirect them to a login interface where they maybe have to check in, where they have to put in their data. Depends also how it's different for everybody. But I just wanted to briefly on this.
That's great. Yeah, as I said before, like the possibilities are really endless with the automation builder. There's just so many different ways you can do it, starting already with the entry points, and then of course, like within the automation itself, there's so much you can do. But obviously, it really always depends on the PMS. It depends on a lot of different things, the tools you're using, the things you would like to implement. So definitely the best thing is to like always speak to us about it, things you would like to achieve, and we will always try and find a way at least to actually get there and achieve it. So yeah, we're always quite motivated to obviously get everyone's dream automation ready, and sometimes it's a process and sometimes it can take a little bit of time, but the important thing about the automation is that when you're building it, it might actually look like a lot, but once you've built it and once it's ready and up and running, it basically like runs itself. You don't really have to do anything about it anymore. It's set up once, and if it's working fine and there's no need for changes, then that's great. And if you want to change anything, that's possible too. So I think that's what's really great about the automations. It really promotes the efficiency as well, because like things that are maybe done manually for now in hotels, for example, you can actually automate them with the automations. And also, I don't know, things, maybe you're doing it via email at the moment. Email campaigns are still fairly popular, but people don't read it or they just end up in spam. So I think that's where it's really great to use the WhatsApp automations, because there's a much higher chance that they actually read it. So that's really good, because especially before a stay somewhere, you sort of want to make sure that you've got everything you need to actually check in, etc.
Yeah, so we have another question. So when testing my automation and sending the first template, the buttons currently do not send the next template, but only trigger a quick reply. What I'm doing wrong. A It depends. So usually in the automation studios, I don't know if Laura can show it up again. So we should see it. Oops. So so usually you would always see when you set a template in the automation studios, you will kind of get a tree where it's the different answers, or we call them, they are also called quick reply buttons. They're basically just a button which has a text, and when the guest or a customer clicks on this button, you decide what's happening. And usually you should see in the automation studios when this is happening, you should see what's happening depending on which button the person clicks. I'm not quite sure what Nicholas, which issue you have, but I would check this first, and if there is something else wrong, yeah, I can't say out of your question. Maybe with more details, maybe, I don't know, does this answer your question, or?
So you get the quick reply from the customer, but you don't get, so the next template is not triggered after the quick reply.
So I mean, there could be also other issues or other reason for this. When you create a WhatsApp template, once you create a WhatsApp template and it's approved by Meta, it still needs about 10 minutes or so until you can really send it. So this is due to Meta kind of not restricting it, but it's just a time frame where it takes up to 10 minutes before it's really live. But once this is done, once these 10 minutes are over, and you can use it, you can always use it, and it will always be sent. And maybe when you do the testing and you create templates and quickly put them in your automation studios and save it and immediately test it, it could be that it's not sent because it's not fully ready yet. So yeah, for fresh templates, you kind of have to wait for 10 minutes. So this could also be a reason.
Yeah, but feel free to add any more information if there's anything else we need to know. Any extra information that we can get about troubleshooting is definitely helpful, because then we can look into it even better. Okay, any other questions? I actually programmed everything exactly as explained here.
Yeah, it could be that you have to wait a bit. Maybe Laura, you can showcase where you can kind of check if the template is already ready.
Yeah.
We may improve this in the future to have more visible and more recognizable that it's not that it's not working right now, and you still have to wait. If you go to message templates, and
so
maybe
yes,
yeah,
I think there's actually two things to consider, because obviously when you create a fresh template, I'm just going to do a very quick one right now, since we're not actually on templates, but we can look into it since we have time. So if you create it and it's brand new and not approved by Meta yet, it will be yellow at first. So it will say pending approval. And then once it's approved, it will turn green. Let's just wait. It should go pretty fast with that one. But even when it's approved, it is possible that it won't be able to send straight away, because there's still this 10-minute wait. And I will show you in a second how you can see this. But like Marcel said, there will be also an improvement on that. Because if it's still yellow, you couldn't actually even put it into your automation studio. So if it's not even approved yet, when you search for the template, it wouldn't actually appear. So there it is. It's green now. So now if I wanted to send it, say I want to just send it to myself, So I go to the list and I say send template and I select the test one. Oh, that's another test.
Yeah.
You will get this warning. This template was just approved. We recommend waiting at least 10 minutes. So that's definitely also something. So if you've managed to create all your templates in 10 minutes and also set up the automation, that is potentially why it's not sending. But you would have to do it obviously all in roughly 10 to 15 minutes. And that might still get stuck then. Okay. We've got another question. I suppose, do you mean after scanning the QR code? Because that was the way that the video that I showed at the start. Maybe some of you weren't here yet. I'm not entirely sure. I could show it one more time from the guest perspective. But yeah, so I will show you 1 second. Let me just share the right thing. Okay. No problem. I'll show it again. Where is it? One moment. I will just get the video. I think it might have closed. Right. Got the video. And now I'm going to share my screen again. What's going on? Okay, share screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
So, very good, nice. Right, so the customer scans the QR code, WhatsApp opens on their phone, they send the pre-typed message, and then that's how the automation is started.
And yeah, and depending on which quick reply or button they click, they will get further down the journey.
It always triggers the next template. Yes, so this is what it looks like for the guest.
And maybe also, if you go back to the ending, here you can also see here if this is a link button, basically referring to a URL. So you have this little icon, and there is also an indicator for phone calls. Yeah, which you can see here at the top. It's called reception, and there is a phone icon, which means when you click on it, it basically starts a call. And the other one is the URL thing. And if you have like this forward icon, it's this quick reply option. And this is like the buttons you have seen also in the automation studios, where you basically can go further down the journey.
Exactly. So this is what it looks like for the guest, for anyone who has missed that before. And then I'm gonna just stop sharing again. Okay.
So we also have the question, what's a poll. What webinar would you be interested in the next session? So feel free to vote, and depending on this, we will
arrange the next one. Yeah. Okay, so this is interesting to watch. Chatbot is winning for now. Okay. Got maybe 10 seconds for one more vote if anyone hasn't voted yet.
Ooh.
Oh, it's
now we have to wait for if it's a minute or so.
It's very interesting.
I mean, it doesn't mean that we don't do the other one as well.
We'll
So
still do the other one. It's just, what is our next step, basically. But we still want to cover all the different topics, just to see and make sure that you have all the information you need. Okay, I think it looks like AI chatbot might have won. So that means that our next webinar, probably in roughly a month, will be on the AI chatbot. I'm really looking forward to it. I think there's a lot that we can explore there as well. And yeah, bring your questions if you're attending. Always happy to answer questions. I think that's the nice thing about the webinar as well, that we get like a variety of different questions and can actually interact together. That's what I really like about it. Great. Thank you very much. And I hope you all have a great day, and you will get the recording sent to you. And once there is information about our next webinar, we will also send out an invitation again. Thanks a lot.
thank you. Bye.
Bye.